Hello and welcome back to the How to Get an Analytics Job podcast. So Hal is running a few minutes behind, and I just didn't want to be late because I see that we have quite a few people already showing up in the live stream chat. So we got Jason, having some coffee, and he's saying, "Good morning, nerds." Also, I cannot pronounce that name. That is a very long name, but full circle. Yeah, so Al is coming back. It's really interesting to see how things have changed within, I would say, probably the last year or so of just, it seems like LinkedIn is always updating their algorithm and the new different tactics. Another interesting insight is that I'm now starting to partner with Ian, who has blown up within the last, say, 6 months. So he has garnered a following of just under 30,000 in 6 months, which has been just huge. And he's starting to actually come on and work with me in Greensboro College on the analytics apprenticeship. So Ian actually broke into analytics without a degree, and I think he's an excellent addition to the team. So, because I've got a master's degree and I'm 7 years in at this point, so I'm starting to feel a little bit out of touch. Awesome. Raj, welcome. So we're waiting on Al right now. He's running a couple minutes behind. Let me make sure that he has the link. Let me add him. I'll send it to him on LinkedIn. So feel free to start asking some questions and I can pull them up while we buy a little bit of time for Al. Here. Awesome. Cool. So Makul, I guess that's how you say that. Makul Raj, welcome. Defying Odds, Donnelly. You guys in your YouTube names are hilarious. Good morning. Thanks for joining the live stream. Oh, Stony, you haven't been on in a while. How have you been? You'll be the most aware when you teach and do the work in the industry. Yes, but what's interesting is that I'm feeling increasingly like removed from people who are just entering the space, because I've developed so much intuition over the last 7 years. On that note, I've actually started doing jujitsu just to kind of remind myself of what it's like to be in that beginner's mindset and like have no idea. I mean, I'm getting choked out like twice a week right now, which I think is good for my ego, because if you guys have been following the podcast for a while, you know that instead of imposter syndrome, I have the opposite problem of delusions of grandeur from time to time. Also, Fernando, welcome. Awesome. All right, let me text Al and just make sure that he saw the link. I sent via. Jason, I'm glad you agree that you think that's cool. BJ, Sestoni saying BJ is an amazing, great workout. I'll let you take the choke outs. Well, I mean, it's interesting in that. So my instructor has, I think, like 12 years in the space, and seeing like the nuances of how he knows how to do everything, it's like magic. Like seeing just how the nuances and then how it all kind of works in synchrony. I'm realizing that's what we're starting to do with the Greensboro College program, and that so I guess I'll update you on where. Oh, Abe, he's late. I'm buying time for Albert right now. He's probably in a meeting or something and got tied up. Um, oh, and Abe, you're also a BGG or BJJ practitioner as well. And what's cool about Abe, you're actually putting together data visualizations based on your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments results, which I think is an excellent idea as far as building out portfolios. Because yeah, I think it is good to have like real business data so that, the vernacular and the hire manager, it's not like a stretch at all for them to say, oh, you're interviewing for a sales position. Oh, he knows sales analytics. But having the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Tableau portfolio piece is an opportunity for you to kind of showcase your personal life. All right, I just got a text back from Al, so I think he's hopping on pretty soon. I've also invited a student on who has done the LinkedIn hard mode for the last 30 days. And I mean, it's incredible to see that you guys are actually killing me on LinkedIn. Like my LinkedIn presence, I've been so busy, haven't been posting as much. And just fair warning, if you guys stop posting, it kind of falls off a cliff. So I think LinkedIn is a great way for you to kind of get, oh, here he is. Albert Bellamy.
What's up?
How you doing?
I dropped in on a line from Abe talking about strangling people. I don't know.
I was talking about, so he has put together a portfolio piece of his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu data. And I was thinking that was a really cool project to kind of showcase his personal life.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
Oh, stuff, nonsense. I was trying to count earlier how many times I'd been a guest on the show. So
probably 5 or 6, maybe way more than that actually.
I think officially like a guest probably 4 times.
Okay.
Because I'm not counting all the Google data analytics interviews.
That's one of the most popular episodes, by the way.
Really?
With Sally.
Oh yeah, so I was thinking, I don't know if we count Hunter, because I was like, am I the only person to be a guest and host? But I guess Hunter's hosted episodes now, and I think, was he like an official guest at any point, or was he just kind of the Gal Friday?
So I've kind of evolved my thinking of this, of like students and then experts, and then Hunter is like kind of an in between.
Yeah, he's an in-betweener.
He started in my High Point University class, and now he's gotten some consulting projects under him. So he's kind of like a, he's out of the, he's not in the egg. He's like a little bird that's like ready to start like flapping his wings. Like he's out of the nest, but like on the branch now. He's not like fully out, because he's still got 6 months left of school. And then I think he's going to.
Oh yeah. So I remember when he first came in, I was like, we were used to kind of, your students that were all seniors. And so it was like, oh, wait, no, he's like an underclassman, not just an undergraduate. He's like, brand new, like remembers high school. So
yeah, I got him when he was a sophomore. So he's a senior now. So we've been working for a year and a half at this point.
Oh, time flies.
I know. They grow up so fast.
They do. Those young minds for molding.
But I wanted to talk about LinkedIn.
Most recently, it was the hard mode challenge. So that was the 5th round. They pretty much all of them damn near kill me. But
well, so we've started using it. So I guess I need to you know that we launched an apprenticeship program through Greensboro College this year. Yes. So we had the beta test over the summer, and we've run 3 cohorts, and I've basically been seeing the rest of this year as just a beta test. What we've done is we've actually brought Kadisha Bryan on, and she's running group calls. So it's group calls Tuesdays with me, Wednesdays with Kadisha, Thursdays with Hunter. And then next year we're going to scale out even further in that. Do you remember Dan Sanchez, by the way? I think he's in the chat.
I do. Yep.
So he did our data challenge, and he won it and had an awesome dashboard. He was preparing for an interview. The person who interviewed him has actually reached out to me and wants to join the team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'm next year. That's weird to say. So we're going to have 4 group calls and then kind of networking like this on Fridays. Yeah. But Kadisha is running the students through your hard mode challenge, and it has generated 3 job leads within the last month. And that's awesome. yeah, that's what Katie was saying. So that hiring manager who hired Dan was saying, especially for smaller companies, they have a hard time finding qualified candidates, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
So her company is in the Raleigh-Durham area, and she says like McKinsey and Google and Amazon come in and they dominate and they scoop up all of the NC State, Duke, and Chapel Hill grads. So they're kind of struggling to where I think LinkedIn is a great conduit for those who are, you know, getting those medium to smaller size company jobs, which I personally like better.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's amazing. And what we're finding at Analect is, we're not one of the big hitters in tech. And so a lot of our best leads coming in are just like, I've brought in, I think 4 people now just with outreach on LinkedIn, and had quite a few more qualified candidates come in and interview that, didn't get selected for whatever reason. But it's, if you're not a huge company and you're not projecting like hundreds of job openings or slashing hundreds of job openings as we're seeing now, I mean, if you're kind of in a steady growth phase and it's a situation where you're going to have 2, 3, 5 jobs open at a time, not hundreds, it's, I think, a better way to operate, because you're not out there looking to cull whole classes from the big colleges. You're looking for one person. And so the kind of, you don't throw out a big net to catch one particular fish. You're going and targeting one person.
Okay, so I've got a controversial take, and I want you to eviscerate this if you think this is the wrong assumption. So I think that small to medium-sized companies actually probably pay better.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Well, so within my most recent cohort, we had one of our students got an offer from like a name brand insurance company. Mm-hmm. And the way that it was fascinating to see how that interview process worked. It was essentially a cattle call. So they probably got 10,000 applications, and then 50,000 people showed up at headquarters. And then they just did these like batches of group interviews, gave him an offer for an entry-level job at 66,000, which is lower than what my undergrads at Greensboro College are getting on average. We told him that he needs to negotiate that up at least to 75. And then he sent an email and they're like, we're firm on that. Because think about it. There's 49 other people who they can give that offer to, and they'll probably accept.
Yes. So here's the other thing. Their structures are rigid.
Right.
And I do have some
Abe's backing me up.
What's up? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So when I first started, was just interviewing for SkillBridge and was coming out of the military. I started getting courted by some big companies. And there was one company in particular that I won't name them, but they drive brown trucks. And they, like, right from the get-go, I had literally given up my job as a battalion XO like April 1st. This was like April 5th. They were calling me on the phone, and the guy started talking to me. Initial phone call. This is not an interview. I'm literally standing in my front yard getting ready to go somewhere, and I'm holding my wife up like, hey, I'm on the phone with logistical company. And the guy was asking me what my salary ask was. At that point, I had only a hazy, I mean, you remember I was talking to you at the time, and so we were discussing what the salary ask should be and what my strategy should be. I had only a hazy indication of what I was going to want to make, or what the market would bear, or where my piece was in it. And so I threw out a number, and he said, well, we can't pay you that. Our entry-level analysts make, and it was right about what you said. I think he said 64,000. And I was just sitting there, like, first of all, that turned me completely off. Like, at that point, I had zero desire to work for this company ever, let alone at that point. He didn't read the room well. I was not ready to talk about salary. That was our initial phone call. Like, I never talked to this company before. But he flat out said, without really knowing anything about me, that, hey, this is where you slot in our massive company. Mm-hmm. And this is what we pay the person, the warm body sitting in that slot, regardless of their performance, their skill level, their whatever. And I'm sure that if push had come to shove and I'd actually interviewed with them and moved forward, there would have been some wiggle room there. I could have qualified for something else. When I got to Analect, I was getting two offers from two other companies that I won't name, but they were military contractors. And they were bringing me in for, the three positions that I was being offered all had different names. And so Analect came in with an initial offer, and it was good. It was, more than what my kind of minimum ask. The two other companies came in over that. And when I told Analect that, they came back and matched the offers from the other two companies. And I feel like what happened was they bumped me up one title because they said, hey, instead of being an analyst, he needs to be a senior analyst to make X dollars. Now, that's still a bit structural, and maybe that didn't work out that way exactly. But the point is, at a smaller company, there was enough flexibility to do that, where they said, the person that was hiring me said, this is a culture add. This is a person that we need. And we're going to, within reason, they weren't going to break the bank to bring little old me in. But it was a smaller company, so they could say, hey, we don't have a specific line item with a budgeted dollar amount assigned to that. We have some wiggle room. So for the right person, if they're wanting to bring you in, they can move up or down, depending on what you rate or what you're worth or what they think you're worth, or how you present. There's all sorts of things you can do with a smaller company that maybe you couldn't do with a bigger company.
Right. Well, that's an interesting branding conversation, because whether you're a senior or entry-level analyst is really up for interpretation, because you did supply chain within the Army. So you've been working with data for what, 10 years, 15?
Yeah.
Sorry. The military, the Marine Corps.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm
I'll take it.
But you were doing logistics work, which is very data intensive. Yeah. So you could make the argument that, oh no, I have 15 years of experience working with data, versus, I've never had the title of analyst. So there's a lot of like brand positioning work that you can do, which leads to the kind of the juxtaposition of, I had in our career services program, so now we're targeting people who have experience and are looking to get the promotion. So essentially the person with the same, each of these candidates had 3 years of experience. One interviewed with the big company, got a $66,000 offer. The other one interviewed with a company that was 72 million. So I saw that someone asked like what the size, like where the cutoff is for large business. So large business is more than $1 billion for me. Medium is like between $1 billion and maybe 100 million, and then small is less than 100 million. I mean, it's somewhat
next
arbitrary.
We'll figure out what big data is.
Right.
for
we need to put a whole live stream together for that.
Hey, R or Python, let's go.
But okay, so guess what the offer was from the $72 million company? It was 95,000.
Oh.
So same people who have comparable experience getting a $29,000
value.
Yeah.
I mean, that is absolute free market for labor. They look at a person with a skill set and a range of capabilities and a projected future with the company, and they say, what is this worth to us? Rather than saying, what part of our personnel scaffolding does this person fit into?
Right. Well, you know what, I think to get even a layer deeper in nuance there, with the $72 million company, he was probably the first analyst they hired, or maybe the second or third.
Yeah.
There's so much more ambiguity there.
In which case, you have no diminishing returns from the analytics team, and it's you. And they know they can hold you accountable. If you are the analytics team, if analytics fails, that they know exactly who to poke.
Yeah.
And that there's no obscurity or vagueness there. It's like, you're it. We're hiring you to be you're the CDO for all intents and purposes.
Well, that's what I've been telling my students. You can effectively position yourself at one of these smaller companies as the chief information officer and build out the entire infrastructure. And then you want to talk about salary negotiations, you can literally pull up all the data and use that as leverage to get that negotiation going. All right. So we've gotten so many comments. There was someone who asked, what is LinkedIn hard mode?
Where's Hunter to read for us?
It's exam week. It's a very hard week for him.
Oh,
Yeah, he's taking literally taking an exam right now.
I thought Hunter could just like snap his fingers and like roll in hungover and pass his exams at this point. Isn't he some sort of genius?
He is very, very smart, but
Yeah.
I think this is just like very like class time. So
well, he's smart enough to get himself on an analytics podcast as a sophomore in college, which, as a sophomore in college, I won't tell you what I was doing, but it certainly wasn't worrying about my future. That's for damn sure.
That's very true. All right. So I guess break it down. What is LinkedIn hard mode?
Okay. So LinkedIn hard mode started as a way for me to give advice in giant batch form. And so the funny thing about becoming an expert or influencer on one of these goofy social media platforms is you very quickly become the person that people turn to for help. At first, I found this very flattering. And I, like the sucker that I am, started trying to help everyone that asked me. I quickly found that this was insanely time consuming. And not only that, but once you give people something for free, they start taking advantage of you.
Right.
And so that was discouraging. The amount of time I was spending on just giving random people advice was kind of sucking me dry. And so I said, well, what if I could do like I used to do for my young Marines, and just if there's something I need them to learn, I don't sit there and tell them this thing over and over to one person after another. I print it out on a little laminated card. I hand it to them and I say, every time you have a question, refer to this card. And then, and so I thought, well, what if I had that? Because there are all these kind of unwritten rules of the LinkedIn algorithm that people don't understand. And this has been the theme of many of our conversations before and my guest appearances. But, the learning is kind of ever evolving. The algorithm is ever evolving. But there are just kind of these basic blocking and tackling rules where, if you do it right, your post has a chance to succeed. If you do it wrong, your post is almost guaranteed to fail. That goes for any piece of content on LinkedIn. And then there's kind of little tricks that people don't know or understand that trigger the algorithm to either make your content successful according to its merits or kind of guarantee failure. And so I got very tired of explaining these things over and over to random people that I would never hear from again. So I said, let me just design a top 10. Let's make one of these top 10 sliders, little kind of nifty Canva handouts. And I can just give that to people when they say, hey, what should I do to make it in the analytics world? What should I do? How do you meet these contacts? How do you get jobs, et cetera, et cetera? Here's where you start. I started with networking and branding. I became kind of mildly internet famous for being the military transition and LinkedIn guy. That worked for me. It got me job offers. It got me opportunities. I got free stuff that I never would have got otherwise. All good things. And all I invested was time and energy. And so I wrote it up intending for it to be that. It was supposed to make my life easier. In an ironic twist, it did anything but. It has enriched my life. I will say that. So people that have completed it here, I'm not talking trash about the challenge, but it has not saved me time. That's for damn sure.
I mean, look at this. Look at this comment I pulled up. So Dan Sanchez is saying, for the record, I secured my first analytics job 25 days into LinkedIn hard mode challenge. Just putting that out there. And what's interesting is now I have both perspectives on that. So I know Dan's perspective and I know Katie's, because Katie was talking about how she sourced her applicants, and it was LinkedIn. And it's interesting because it's like these are potentially higher paying jobs than the ones that 10,000 people are applying for, because it's Google or Amazon or whatever name brand company it is. I think it's just really fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's people would kind of look at me sideways, well, electronically. So I just imagine based on the responses that, when they come ask me, how do I get an analytics job? Strangely enough, and I start talking about networking and personal branding and content creation, they're just like, okay, well, when do I get to the part where I get a stack of Udemy certificates and somebody comes and finds me and says, you're brilliant because you completed the Google Data Analytics certificate program. So come on into our company. The fact is that never happens. there is no certificate in data analytics that makes you hireable. There is no, first of all, there's no industry standard. Second of all, it's not like the CPA exam. There's no piece of paper that's going to qualify you to analyze data. Second of all, there's just so many elements to data analytics that are not following a script and clicking through a class. The classes are useful. They can be wonderful if you apply them the right way. They can also be useless if you apply them the wrong way. And so a lot of it is just on the user. And so that's why I never focus on when people come to me and say, what certificate is going to be the skeleton key to a successful data career? None of them. And you won't find a single expert out there, to include the people selling specific certificates. There is no skeleton key. The difference is you and how you sell and brand yourself. And that's why, that's why your apprenticeship is successful, because you emphasize those things. And I know you'll go to your grave saying, I'm not a platform specialist. I'm not a, Tableau user group and, have done things with tech platforms, but you're never going to define your brand by being the Tableau guy. Or the
that's how I
guy
started.
Or anything like that.
That's how
Absolutely. But then you evolved
Right.
from that, because there was a realization there that this is not my key to success. Nobody is going to hire, because you can design. Half of these things have auto ML properties now, to include Tableau. You can automate a ton of stuff to the point where you can almost replace the human that's sitting there clicking the little bar graph into place. And you can automate your reports. Same thing in Alteryx. You can automate all your reports to where the operator is not purely optional, but it's not necessary that they're a brilliant analyst. The analyst that has worth is the person that can not only master those platforms, but then turn those platforms to their advantage to brief a stakeholder, to show value. Because a bar graph is useless by itself. A dashboard is useless by itself. It's got to show value. And we always used to say with PowerPoint presentations, a PowerPoint presentation is not a living document. It is an enabler to the person that is presenting it. And the minute you start leaning on the thing, the dashboard, the graph, the presentation, you have now made yourself a talking meat stick and not a thinking person. And so you present your value as the interpreter of data and the data storyteller or what have you, and you're the one that pulls out the insight and the KPI and says, here's what you need to see. And then everything else is an enabling tool.
Right.
Got way off subject there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's the business acumen it's really hard to teach business acumen, because you can read case that. That's the MBA approach. Yeah. I'm going to go read about what Steve Jobs did for Apple in China and getting around privacy issues or IP or whatever. But you're not there. You don't know what it's like. You don't feel the urgency. You don't feel the risk. To where
you can't fake domain knowledge. Domain knowledge comes with experience. There's no class that can give it to you. That classes can enable it. But yeah, domain knowledge is the differentiator for your ability to tell that data story.
Right.
And that's why consultants, like I kind of go back and forth on consultants, because if they're not specific to a domain, they're kind of dropping in, and you bring these people in, and if they're not marketing people, it's like it's going to take you longer to figure out the marketing game than it is for me to figure out what you're doing and just do it myself. But going back to hard mode. So, because I want to make sure we answer the original question and not allow me to just suck all the air out of the room, which I can do. So hard mode made the kind of easy cheat sheet. And then just in talking to people were like, oh, we should do a challenge. And that appealed to me because a challenge was how I got started. And so I said, okay, well, let's see, I've kind of shopped it around to a handful of friends and like-minded folks. And I said, okay, cool. November of last year, we'll do a 30-day challenge, 30-day month, November 1st to the 30th. Good to go. And I started just making some kind of video content about it, and did a couple of polls because, polls were blowing up at the time on LinkedIn. That was how you got tons and tons of impressions. So put polls out there, like, and I sold it a little bit. And I did kind of a masterful little amateur social media marketing campaign where I was just like, hey, do you want to increase your number of followers? Do you want to increase your outreach? Do you want to, all these kind of, here's the carrot, here's the carrot, here's the carrot. And the content worked like gangbusters, and we got a lot of people. Now, we didn't get a ton of people actually doing the challenge. I think that first cohort, we might have started with like 50 or 60. And I think there were 25 or 30 maybe that finished.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for the first
one,
nobody had ever heard of it. And I didn't know how to, I had no lessons learned or plan for success on it. I was just like, hey, let's see if people like doing this. I fully expected everybody to quit, honestly. Other than, the super friends like Abe and, people that were, Abe didn't do that one, but, just people that kind of had a relationship with me and would do it, because they thought it was fun and because they were doing stuff with me. We would kind of have some sort of cohesive bond and finish it. But like the people that I met that were like, yeah, I'm interested. And then there was a whole company where they were like, hey, our whole team of 12 people wants to do it.
That's so cool.
in Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've made some lasting friends and connections out of that, including people that no longer work at ArcBest, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, so that kind of snowballed, and then that was fun. And then I fully expected, like, we did stuff like that, like the Christmas promotion and the show us your data and all of that sort of stuff. I expected it to be a one-off. I just expected it to kind of be a thing that we had fun with, and then I would just move on to the next thing. But people started clamoring to do it again. And then, when people started playing with the name, and they said, well, we need to do harder mode, which we did briefly. I made up a kind of more stringent,
extremely hard mode.
Yeah, like LinkedIn Extreme. But so that was, harder mode was fun for a handful of the kind of hardier folks. But yeah, it's kind of, it hasn't grown every time. And I've been really bad about keeping data. There was one, I think like the third one, I don't think I kept a single
Cobbler's Kids
blip of data on it. But yeah, now I kind of half-heartedly keep data on it just to tell people, this last time I think we had almost exactly 50% finish. It was the 5th cohort this past month, and we started with 92, and I think we wound up with 47. Yeah. So one over half.
Are you doing any type of group calls or anything like that?
We do. Afterwards, I set up like a group chat with everybody. So I have one, other than cohort 3, I have one group chat for every cohort that we've done. And like most group chats, they kind of peter out a little bit over time, and only the handful of people that really want to keep going. Mm-hmm. Some of them kind of turn into, post support or pods or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, there's still some good. We've talked about doing like a super group chat. So for the people that have done multiple iterations or that still show interest months and months down the road, I've got people that have done 3 or 4. I think I'm the only one that's participated in all 5. I actually didn't finish one of them. I had something happened where I missed a day on one of them. So nobody has completed all 5. But there are people that have done it 3 or 4 times. And
well, I mean, we're working.
So we started about thinking like an all-star group.
Yeah.
So
we're working you into our curriculum. So that's like every Wednesday we have a group call where they brainstorm ideas. I mean, they have the added benefit of like having the curriculum that they can take notes on and be like, oh, this was interesting, or this was counterintuitive. But then they can like pull up their post, and then Kadisha can like say, here, format it this way, or add this, or take that out. And I think having that group touch base once a week has really, because we didn't push it hard enough. Like I didn't make it a requirement. I was like, hey, we're beta testing this new concept of working, the LinkedIn hard mode into the curriculum. But I mean, I see it now. It's led to, I think, 3 interviews. Nice. So, I mean, it's funny because I mean, this is an early stage startup. So I am like learning just as much as the students right now. Like every iteration we go through, I I'm just learning more. And then also too, I'm having like the team grow and build out to where I love that I'm having an analytics hiring manager that's going to be coaching. Because like I haven't hired, well, I've hired Hunter, but that's like a little bit of a niche situation. To where, having, oh wait, we got Anna here asking, how do you get started? How do you get signed up?
I see the suggestion right above that for LinkedIn Legendary mode.
LinkedIn Legendary mode. LinkedIn monk
Um,
mode.
Yeah. So Anna, there's no, that'd be a good one. Yeah. There's like no at tags, no hashtags, like wall of text. Yeah, that'd fail. So Anna, there's no sign up. It's absolutely not structured. So I actually took a lot of lessons from our good friend Ken G's 66 days of data. And he has never like formalized that. He's never monetized it. He's never really formalized it. I think the most formal thing he did was get t-shirts made, which a lot of people are clamoring for now on hard mode. So we'll look into that. But no, there's no sign up. Anna, if you want to start today, tomorrow, whenever, and just do 30 straight days of content and, tag them all with the hashtag, if you miss the hashtag once or twice, it's not a big deal, but you got to do 30 straight calendar days of original content, no shares, no double posts of any kind, to include posting in groups. A lot of people don't know. I feel like I got to write that into the rules, because a lot of people don't know that posting in your timeline and posting in a group, that counts for a double post, according to my rules and also according to the algorithm. You will get slammed for that, because that's 2 posts in a day. But yeah, post 30 straight days of content, 1 post per day, all original. And then just show me at the end of it, and I'll give you a big thumbs up, and I'll give you the link to my Calendly, where you can, you can have a half hour of my time and chat with me directly. You have to join the LinkedIn group. That's where I post the link. And there's something else. Yeah. Anyway, usually when I put somebody on the group chat and then put them in the LinkedIn group, that's, you're in the Cool It Club at that point. So, and then you can sign up for half hour to just shoot the breeze with me. Or the other offer is, I have so many old t-shirts that I refuse to throw away, that I have offered to send you a randomly selected old t-shirt of mine. I've only ever had one person take me up on that.
Wow, so fancy.
It's clean. They're not. I washed them, so it's not.
No,
gross.
I need the sweat stains for authenticity's sake.
No, I don't sweat that much.
All right, so we've got a ton of chats. What I'm going to do is pull. So I have 2 students. It's funny. Corey is like not. I can see the empty chair right now. But I'm going to pull this 2 students on who have gone through this over the last 30 days.
Okay.
And we can do a Q&A, and that'll give me some time to kind of get caught up on some of the chats, because talking to you and then also monitoring the chat log, it's like too much.
It's exhausting.
Right, cool.
Oh, I hate doing that. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Abe, you only get 1 shirt. Stop.
Okay, so just to kind of kick things off. So Corey, you had a huge hit either the last week or the week before, where one of your posts got 169 engagements on it.
Yeah, something like that. I did.
It's good work.
A couple posts got a lot of impressions. It was a really fun challenge to participate in. I really enjoyed the structure of it, and knowing that it's a challenge and that I need to post every day. So kind of getting myself in the mindset of I have to do this. And I did really well. Got a lot of gained a lot of connections, gained a lot of friends, and I really enjoyed it. I did not finish the entire 30 days. I think I got like 24 days. And I was posting at nighttime mostly, like after my family went to bed and all that. And one day I just like fell asleep, didn't get a post out. And and then after that, it was so easy to just not do it anymore. I'm like, I missed it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. And then I just never did it. So I did like 24 days.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I look forward to doing it again and actually completing it.
So it's funny because I noticed that you and I think some of the other apprentices were doing that kind of post and ghost just right before bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually put out some content about that. Like, and I kind of refuse to expand the rules of the challenge just because I think there's a nice symmetry to it. There are 10 basic rules about the content of your post. And then, in kind of a military pun, I say there's 3 rules of engagement, and that's the emphasis on the R because they all start with R. I don't want to expand that. I don't want the thing to become like overly complex. I like the symmetry of 10. However, I do put out content throughout the challenge during most of the cohorts where I talk about mistakes that I see people making and what I would do to correct them, or, kind of what you're doing wrong. So that was a big one. And I hadn't seen that trend before much. We've had 1 or 2 people that will do the nighttime post. I have a very good friend and a very good content creator who posts and ghosts on LinkedIn and YouTube, and it drives me insane because this person is amazing. Their content is amazing, and I really, really wish they would engage a little bit more because it would make all their stuff way more successful. But if I could add a rule or tag one thing on, it would be the success of your post depends largely on the engagement that you do within the first hour or 2 after you click post. And so posting right before bed does 2 things, both of which are bad. Number 1, it means that you're going to bed, so you're not there to boost it and to engage with the people that are reacting or commenting. And number 2, if you're going to bed, your audience is probably going to bed too. So, most people that you're talking to are like you or more or less like you. So unless you're posting specifically for the audience in EMEA or India or Africa or Australia, something like that, most of the people you're talking to are going to be in or around your time zone. So if you're posting at 10 o'clock at night, the vast majority of the people that might respond to you or the people that are in your connection circle, they're going to bed too.
All right,
so you really handicap your content and make it very difficult to be successful by posting and ghosting at any time, but specifically right before bed because nobody's there to see it. True fallen in the forest.
All right, so King asks a question. He says, Al, whenever I suggest to someone to start posting on LinkedIn, I encounter extreme resistance / fear. Have you experienced this reaction, and how do you overcome this hurdle?
I mean, how do you... I spent 23 years trying to get over my own fears and to get my Marines to get over there. So there's an almost limitless number of tactics to try and get people to reach down and grab their courage.
Well, I think you created a structure though for them to follow.
Yeah. So I mean, rules are liberating. That's just anybody in the military or as a veteran, this. But rules are liberating because what's the worst thing you can have? Paralysis by analysis. You step up to the CVS counter and you've got a hankering for candy and there's 250 options there. You're going to stand there for 10 minutes. If you go to the supermarket and there's 10 options there, you can pick right away. Right. And it doesn't occur to you that you're like, oh crap, I don't have the Take 5 bar here that I would have at the CVS counter. It's simpler. It's more liberating. You're just like, I know I like Snickers, and you go.
Right.
And so the rules of the challenge, they liberate you. So my son just walked in. And so he's back from college. So anyway, I've thrown off now. But just
rules are liberating.
Yeah,
you blew my mind.
Having left and right lateral limits is something for him to hear too. Dang it. Having what we used to call left and right lateral limits in the military it's great because now you're not picking where you're going to point your weapon. It's got to be right here.
Right.
And so it's having less choices and just saying you can only do this many hashtags. You can only do this many @ tags. Post at a consistent time. Post along some certain content guidelines or bins, which I didn't really enforce this time. But anyway, it's just a good idea because you got to keep on brand. All of those things will focus you and will make it easier. And then, it's almost like removing the complete accountability. You're posting, you're putting LinkedIn hard mode on there. There's a bunch of other people doing it with you. So you've got that group thing that reinforces. and you're kind of acting on my wise guidance. So it takes a little bit of that fear away. I mean, you got me here saying it's good, it'll work. I've seen it happen a million times. If you keep doing it this way, you'll be successful. So yeah, all of those things will help people overcome their fear. But I've had to give people pep talks to create content on LinkedIn, like, because you get to care about somebody, and you're invested in their ability to get a job and just succeed professionally. And this is the way that I see to succeed professionally and work for me. I want everybody to get a piece of that goodness. I mean, you're not taking my job. There's a job opening out there for you, and it makes me happy to help you find it.
Right, because Corey, you said you've got 3 interviews lined up? You already just got through the first round of 1?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, because I pulled up one of your messages. You were talking about how you just feel so much more motivated now, like getting out there. I think posting on there reinforces the behavioral pattern, because then it's like, all right, well, number one, you've made a commitment to me that you paid for the program, so you're obligated to, number one, go to the Wednesday session. And then if you miss that, it's like, well, there's a
you wasted your money.
Right. Yeah. But then also too, I'm going to bust your chops a little bit, so but then also too, you posting, you have all these people commenting that on your posts that are really supportive. And I think maybe that's where a lot of the fear comes from, is that you're worried that you're just going to get eviscerated in the comment section, because it's not YouTube.
Yeah.
Like the amount of hate I get on this YouTube channel, and I'm not even that big. Like, I can only imagine what Alex the Analyst and Kenji and the people that are up above 100,000.
Oh yeah.
Because the YouTube comment section is accessible. LinkedIn though, it's not anonymous. No, it's not anonymous.
No, you're right. I
Yeah.
see the ones I see the people that have that have spam accounts that take, I commented on some of Alex's videos.
Yeah.
People would have spam accounts that they've built with his picture, that they're trying to sell you crap in the comments of his video. I'm like, man,
yeah, I mean,
next level scammery.
Well, yeah, but LinkedIn is not anonymous. It's YouTube is an entertainment platform. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform. So you're not anonymous. Your name is tied to it. So if someone is a total asshole to you in the comment section, and they do that on repeat, that's going to potentially prevent them from getting jobs, because their manager or potential hiring managers are going to look at that and be like, oh man, this person is terrible. That I'm not going to do that. And I guess there's probably some controversy. I know that in the data tuber space, they do fake controversy, but it's like a silly rivalry.
You mean like a fake beef cooked up between Kenji and Alex Freeberg by some wayward intern at a rival channel? No.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
So yeah, you're not going to.
That might have been my master stroke of social media managerdom. I managed to cook up an argument between 2 other YouTube channels and their content creators out of thin air.
Was that the Was that the Power BI is better than Tableau thing or whatever?
I don't think it was anything. I think it was just one of them said something and the other one said something else, and I was like, "Are they beefing?" And then it just grew legs, and that they were on air, jokingly, but denying that there was any beef. And so every time they addressed it, I was like, "Oh no, we're doubling down. The beef is real." It was a great conspiracy theory. It's every time they deny that there's a beef, it's just proof of how deep the beef really is.
You've got evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, I gave pump the brakes on it. It was but it was hilarious to me while it was going on.
So Corey's in the career services program. Kumar, you're in the apprenticeship program, which is much longer. I'm kind of curious, Kumar. You're transitioning into this space to where Corey's already gotten a job and is looking for a promotion. Yep. What has been your experience with the LinkedIn hard mode? Because I think you said that it's been pretty positive, right?
Yeah, I think it's positive. I've dropped off the hard mode, but yeah, I dropped off from the beginning. But I could say the things that it's helped me do is be consistent. That was a thing that I gleaned from the hard mode, because before I came into the apprentice thing, I never looked at my LinkedIn account. And it was funny, the phone call that we had, you said, yeah, your LinkedIn is pretty shit.
I didn't use those terms.
No, you did, man.
Okay, maybe I did.
Yeah. So the first time I got a profile review, the guy like live on a webinar with like 150 people watching. So he saw my profile and he's like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah.
So,
and
hey, sometimes it's that punch in the face that gets you to, to get off.
I think what I said is we have a lot of opportunity here.
Yeah. Well, you did say we could.
I was going to say, John David is usually
it can only go up.
But
I already knew because like I had created it way before, and in my line of work that I was doing, I didn't need it. But with this transition, and since my bad taste with Facebook and other platforms, I was reluctant. And the thing that you turned me on to is like, check this out, check out hard mode. And I was like, okay, I know I don't have the time to do it as much as it was requiring, but what can I glean from it? And the glean was consistency and being productive. And basically you're advertising yourself in a different way. And those are the things that I took from it and just try to continue to do.
Yeah. So that brings up an awesome point, and thank you. It's almost as if I teed you up for saying that. So I set up the group chat for the cohort 5 people that completed it the other day, and I just kind of had some sort of parting words for them based on the discussion that they were having. And so, I'm an analyst. I like to see what the percentages are. So I love to see, hey, about 50% of the people that started finished it. That's pretty good. That means it's challenging, but not impossible. I like that. And I know people dropped for all sorts of reasons. The vast majority of people that dropped within 1 week. So the average number of days for those that didn't complete it that were on it was 6. Wow. So that tells me there's not a lot. And there were a few outliers at the high end that were dragging that up. So that tells me that, most people just find it distasteful right off the bat. That's fine. Awesome. It's not for everybody. What I tell the people that completed it is, hey, you probably are not going to keep up daily posting for the rest of your days or for as long as we have LinkedIn as a platform. And nor will most of you want to or need to. I choose to do it because it's a good, I like it as a creative outlet. I like it as a networking method, but I miss days too. So, it's a 30-day challenge in which you fail if you don't post any day. That's over. And so now the thing is, if you choose to continue daily content creation, awesome. Some people do. Probably about 10% from what I've seen of the people that finish it continue to create content daily as a habit. Most people kind of settle into a cadence of a couple of times a week. That's fine too. If that's, if you have more limited goals of what you want to get out of the platform, awesome. I would say if you want to maximize the use of LinkedIn, putting something out there every day is the way to go. However, what I would say is if it's 3 months from now till your next post, I question what you learned from the challenge, because, like a good diet that's for a temporary duration, the point is not that you eat like this for the rest of your damn life. The point is that you're trying to set in place a set of habits that you can deviate from within some acceptable range, but that these are your baselines from here on out. I did 75 hard and have continued. There's phases to it if you choose to keep going into a challenge called Live Hard that lasts for a year. And you kind of go on, go off. There's 75 days to start, and then there's like various 30-day increments of different challenges with it. I won't go into great detail, but the point is not do awesome for 30 days and then do shit for a month. The point is not, you quit drinking alcohol for 30 days. You don't immediately start binge drinking on day 31. The point is, hey, these are habits. And the no alcohol is to show you, hey, you can go long periods of time without booze and you won't die. You can go into social situations because you're not skipping parties or social events. You can go into social situations and not drink and you won't die and you won't have a terrible time. But, if you want to drink in moderation afterwards, awesome. If you turn into a complete alcoholic, I would say you probably missed the point of the challenge. Same thing with hard mode. If you go to the polar opposite extreme and say that was fun, but I'm never doing it again, which some people have done, I would say you didn't learn much, because the point is to teach you the value of the platform and how to create content that succeeds.
Yeah. I see that, because I have pulled off of posting, and if it's interesting because the engagement statistics just fall off a cliff.
Yeah. Momentum is huge with the algorithm. It counts for a lot.
Right. I'm in a little bit of a different position in that I struggle with LinkedIn because of the recency effect of like, I'm talking to people who've listened to the podcast for 150 hours. It's like the return on investment from time from the podcast is so much higher than LinkedIn. I am exploring potentially having a PR firm come in, but I think basically LinkedIn is like hustle. Like it's like hustle luck. Like you do it enough, you hustle, and then it brings opportunity to you, to where I think there's a point where it kind of peaks, and then it's like you want to get into like structural systems thinking. But I think that this is a really, essentially to recap, I think that there are high paying jobs that are essentially hidden within LinkedIn that that are not, there's and they're high paying jobs that are essentially hiding on LinkedIn that are not shiny. They're not, the name brand companies in the world. But if you do a solid job of building a brand, you kind of become a beacon to where they are going to come to you. And I think it's really interesting that a lot of them are paying higher than the bit name brand companies.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of it is a numbers game. So, I mean, you can absolutely put yourself in a position to receive good things, to be a provider of help to other people. But it's a numbers game. I have 7,000 connections and 21,000 followers. There's zero chance that every one of them is going to yield something positive for me. In fact, the vast majority of them I don't hear from ever. They're never going to offer me a job. They're going to give me any free stuff, and vice versa. I'm not going to provide anything other than hopefully clever content to the vast majority of them. I've gotten job offers for a couple of people that I've met on LinkedIn. But it's a big numbers game. If, Kamar, I'm looking at Kamar's profile right now, 211 connections. Okay. If Kamar and I are both connected to John David Ariansen, he's got 2 jobs to give out, and he gets 1 job and I get the other one. Awesome. His network of 211 connections has just yielded the precise same benefit that my network of 7,000 connections has provided me, because we just happened to be connected to the one guy that had jobs to give out, and we were qualified and we knew the guy, and it all worked out. But there's a far better chance that a bigger network is going to have a bunch of John David Ariansens and not, maybe one. Just people that can provide something for you. Sorry, I'm just fluffing your ego at this point.
The thing that I was happy about was getting more insights. Because I didn't really know too much about this career. I came across John's stuff from a video he did with you about going through the Google certificate thing. And
cool.
I had some of the same feelings about it while going through, and so I decided to put it on pause and come through doing this because I saw additional benefits that wasn't giving me. And I would say that making use of my LinkedIn account, I got connected with other analysts as well that I could ask questions to.
What do you think of this question? Yeah, I think that
they post it. I post mine just about everywhere I go.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this actually, of how I can add more value to the students, of like if they join you can post your LinkedIn link, and then everyone that's like, we've got 30 people joining here, all add each other, start kind of building that network effect. So yeah,
I don't
Fernando,
think you can't hyperlink in the YouTube chat.
Oh, you can't?
No,
that's annoying.
But I mean, you can cut and paste.
Oh, true. Yeah, feel free to cut and paste in there. I do think that's a really good idea.
No, but I do that everywhere I go. Like if you do a Zoom call or something, and it's a big networking event, I'll drop my link in there like every 15 minutes because people miss it.
Yeah, well, I think what the frame in which I think is the right way to think about it is you have a digital footprint. You know, when they Google you, how are you going to show up? And then also like, what are you affiliated with? And then just trying to make that as big as possible. Because you're right, it's a numbers game. Like you have no idea like what piece of content is going to get in front of the right eyes. I guess what you do have control over though is how you communicate, and I think that's. How do you touch on that very much? Like how to brand it, how to position it in the marketplace.
That's a lot more. I mean, that's just kind of the follow-on stuff. It's not simple enough to kind of encapsulate in a rule. Mm-hmm. And I think I actually did a video once where, if I didn't do it, I thought about doing it. Where I just talked about, hey, if you suck at writing, like I'm not going to teach you how to English. If you suck at writing, that's something you need to address on your own. And the only way to get better at that is to write a ton of stuff and be critical and get good reviews from people that are good writers. But that is a long and involved process. And so I don't promise anybody success from the challenge. And I've definitely had people that kind of came in, were not confident at all in their writing. It showed. They started doing very minimalist stuff, just like a meme and like 3 words. And that's why I kind of put a content minimum requirement on there at one point. But that's kind of the only way to fail, really, is I've had people that were bad writers that came in and just let it all hang out, just fired off with the typos and the grammatical errors, and it's kind of endearing. As long as it's not like difficult to read, it's, you don't have to be Shakespeare. And who can't write a Facebook post, right? I'm not saying everything that on LinkedIn should be like emotive or, don't do like pictures of your dinner or any of that silly stuff. But, who can't just sit there and talk about like, hey, I had a bad day at work today. Here's why. I had conflict with a person and blah, 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 blah. And I've got to work with them on this project. You can be oblique about that. And so that you're not hurting anybody's feelings or talking trash about your employer, but still appeal to people that are going through similar situations. Everybody has these same situations at work. You got that person that pisses you off. You've got that person that, that boss that's constantly kind of nitnoid poking at you and micromanaging you. Just talk about that stuff. You don't have to be a brilliant writer to do that.
Right. I'm starting to see kind of, I hate to use the corporate jargon of synergy, but I see how we kind of work together, and that in the program, I have one-on-one coaching calls with these students. So for example, Kamar is an illustrator, animator, animator. Yeah. I messed up the Marines and the Army, and now the illustrator and the animator. I'm off my game. But okay, so you're an animator, so graphic design really, really well. So with that knowledge, if I have 15 years of graphic design, going and finding specifically data visualization jobs, that is transferable over, because and what you can do, instead of like making a text post, make it visual. Like you recently studied, so you live in, is it the Bronx right now? Brooklyn. So you live in Brooklyn, and then you studied the traffic like accident.
Oh, yeah.
And that was visually laid out. It looked like something that would be in like a newspaper. Like it was so visually just neat and organized and like very you're communicating. Like I think you had a little bit of text in the post, but like what you're doing is you're leaning on your brand point of, I am an expert in understanding animation and visual design, and that is front and center of a lot of the posts. Because I think you're posting what, twice a week at this point?
Yeah, I try to keep up twice a week, and I try to work out the design. It was a combination of comments that you had made on, I think one of my first Power BI posts,
Mhm.
and you asked a couple questions, and it was like, oh, why didn't I think about it? And then after that, I tried to just take the criticism and make that a part of my next post. Like, I need to do better that way, and just continue to do that. I'm just looking at it as each time I post something, I try to make an improvement from the last post.
That's a great frame of reference there.
Growth mentality, like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I see you getting involved in the chat over here. Paul's.
Oh, I'm just so excited Paul is here. Paul has been she's taken a bit of a LinkedIn hiatus herself. I talked to her the other day. She's super busy. But,
oh, that's sweet. All right, so
Paula is one of my favorite people that I met through the challenge.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe I met her through the show. I don't remember what came first. I think it was the show. She was a fan of the show back when I was working on it. And then,
yeah, she's been super active in our chats. Paula, I appreciate you. Also, look at her promoting our stuff. She's saying give this live stream a like. I appreciate that.
I will tell you, like, it is a human tragedy that Paula is not as active on LinkedIn because her content was amazing. Like value added. Like,
you want to unpack that a little? Like, what makes? Okay, so this is a conversation I had with Ian, who is coming on board with us, and he's blown up. He's gotten about 30,000 subscribers or followers in the past 6 months. So he's actually in North Carolina too, of all places. He's like 20 minutes outside of Greensboro.
Who is this? I don't think I missed this one.
Ian, I cannot pronounce his last name. He was in the chat here. I can pull in. I can pull in his name. So what? Yeah, this is so Ian Klaskowitz. I don't know. Seems Eastern European, but yeah. So his advice is, or what he's saying is the key to his rapid trajectory is that everything he does is value additive in some way. So you said that Paula's content was really value additive. Like what is kind of, can we lift the hood up there? And like, what do you mean when you say that? Because I think a lot of people don't explicitly understand that.
Yeah. So, I mean, Paula is not many people are equipped to write like Paula writes. So she's number one is a kind of deep and strategic thinker. So she sees the forest that doesn't miss the forest for the trees. Anyway, she kind of sees the matrix. If you get with that one, but you know, and can just in a fascinating way kind of pull these seemingly dislike elements together and weave something that's just thought-provoking and interesting. A lot of it, you know, kind of data domain related. So a lot of it very professionally relevant, but a lot of it just sort of life observations. And yeah, it's just it's rare that you find that level of where the content is both professionally relevant and just tremendously enjoyable to read, and then also spurs you to respond. And that's the kind of the big thing is you almost want to write it in sort of an open-ended way where it's not just, you know, because sometimes people will just look at a post and it's brilliantly well written, and at the end they'll just go, great post. Because you've just written it in such an encapsulated way that it's like, I don't require any of your input, audience. You know, here is my magnum opus, you know, observe it and tremble, and then you just go away. So it's a limit to how well that's going to do, unless it's like super viral, like meme worthy, share worthy kind of thing.
Yeah, so Kadisha's talked about this and that there are different types of posts. Like Corey, you've leaned really far into the memes. You love making memes. Like I don't know, is there like a meme generator you use, by the way? Because it's like text, bottom text, lower text, and then some image.
No, Kadisha had she shared a link to a website that you can do it off of.
There's a bunch.
Yeah.
The ones with the videos,
like or image flip, or there's a bunch of them.
The ones with the videos are hilarious.
Like meme generator.
Yeah,
it's fun, definitely. Just trying to get some pictures out there. I think that was my mindset, was that, you know, you want to attach a picture or video or some sort to your post to get more views. And yeah, so when I'm not doing technical stuff, I needed to come up with something to share. So yeah, leaned into the memes. It was fun. It's been pretty successful for me.
Yeah, and that was one of those kind of in stride pieces of advice I gave, was like, hey, not everything has to be a kind of a weighty tome of rock solid content. Every once in a while, once or twice a month, I'll put out a picture of the book I'm reading and a cup of coffee, and that hits like crazy, because it's just relatable, and and it's never, the book's never trashy. It's fiction, nonfiction, but it's something. It's something that people can look at and go, "Oh yeah, I've read that book," or "That's interesting," or
no Harlequin novels.
Yeah, I don't do like 50 Shades. It's not really
no Fabio pictures on the back cover. Corey, you hacked it because you took a picture with your son, and we're talking about like what you were doing during the day, right?
Yeah, I did. I was posting. So that was another thing I post about. I was posting about on Sundays. I usually watch football, so I had to try to tie that in with data. So yeah, I posted a picture of the son, but we're big Broncos fans, so
I'm sorry,
kind of rough. Yeah, it's been a rough year, so I still am giving some love on social media. But yeah, it's still fun, but my team's not in the best position. Yeah, I just try to relate my posts to stuff that I do every day. So if I'm doing something and it may not be, like I might not think it's super interesting, but when I'm trying to create content and I just kind of want to share like an insight to my life, and other people react to that, and that kind of helps get the creative juices going. You get more reactions and comments off of things that you wouldn't necessarily think would be huge hits, and it's a learning process. But being active on it was beneficial to my career search and all that. So it's been really fun.
All right, so Al, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we've gone over an hour at this point. I did want to ask you about your collaborations with Ryan Forrest. Is that still? I haven't seen him in a month. I don't know if you have time. I don't want to take up any more.
Yeah. So we both got insanely busy at the same time, which in a way was kismet, because it was just, it wasn't one of us dragging the other one down. We both just got swamped. I had an account that had been kind of roadblocked, and then suddenly the roadblock cleared. So there was just a ton of catch-up work to do on it. And then at the same time, I think he got a big account in, so there was just tons and tons of legwork to be done.
I think his business doubled the last month, more than doubled maybe.
It was big dollar numbers from what he was telling me. So
I haven't seen. Yeah, we usually meet at least once a week. I haven't seen.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening, so Ryan Forrest is one of my good friends. He runs a company called Fungi Marketing, who actually built my website and also did quite a bit of my marketing. And he collaborated with Al on a YouTube channel. I think, was it Data Driven Demand? So it was marketing.
It was, yeah. So it was. We kept his old channel, which is Data Driven Demand Generation. And so, which is kind of funny, because we were sort of looking at it, and it was like my personal channel and his channel had like almost the exact same number of subscribers, and we're just like, So, but I mean, he had a brand name for his. Mine was just Albert Bellamy. So, and I did want to, it's kind of funny for a thing that is at best a notional company, that we had to sit there and go, okay, so what brand is this going under? Like what do we need to be respectful of? And kind of, hey, what catastrophic success? We make a bunch of money off of this. Like where is this going? And who's getting the money? So anyway, funny having those conversations at a point where it's like, we don't even have a profit driver at this point.
Hey, it starts with a dream. It starts with a dream.
Yeah. Or at least I've heard. So anyway, we aligned it under the Data-Driven Demand Generation, and he also had a stream of content that was a year old, but that was along those same lines where he talked about using Google Analytics. And so we were sort of continuing that stream, but it wasn't like either one of us has this audience and brand where we're building on this established name. So yeah, it was just we started working through just how do you start a business with regards to digital marketing and branding. And yeah, so there are plans to have a product which is kind of half baked at this point. There are plans to do sales through a website which exists, but is not anything to look at this point. And so we kind of got into how do you use MailChimp? How do you develop an email list? How do you direct people? How do you build a funnel? Direct people to your website or whatever your conversion mechanism is. All things that I had to learn very quickly in coming into marketing analytics. All things that he knows very well. Granted, I'm while it is a smallish company for the tech sector, it is a much bigger company than his or any of the ones he's working with. And meanwhile, I'm kind of learning small company stuff as well. So very interesting, ties a whole lot of lines of effort together for me. Kind of provided a vehicle for him to continue on his sort of truncated.
He's such an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He's got he's got the bakery. He's got the
that cracks me up every time. I was like, how do you own a bakery? How is that on brand?
Because the founder of our co-working space was like, hey, I've got a really exciting business opportunity for you. Yeah. No, but I just enjoy working with smaller businesses because there's so much more there's so much more wiggle room. So yeah, working with the big companies, it's like everything is just very productized. It's very organized, and it's like you do this one thing, and then he does this other thing, and she does this, to where you can actually have your ideas enacted when you're working with a smaller business.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a value.
Yeah, there's not so many layers of vetting. And so I'm involved in developing the Veterans Business Resource Group within Analect. And then Analect is part of this kind of umbrella corporation called Omnicom, which is this massive marketing and media giant. And so just in developing this thing, we started it at Analect. Now we're kind of expanding it to some of our sister agencies, which are technically other companies, but they're under the same org. And just working through kind of the bureaucracy that now you're working through the DEI of this other company and this other company to your right. And you have to talk to this person and this person, and you have to bring them all in on meetings. And then how do you schedule stuff? That's just kind of a bureaucratic problem that I'm not used to working at Analect, which is, we have 250, 300 some employees in the United States and I think 1,500 in India. So.
Awesome. Okay. So we've rounded on for an hour and 17 minutes.
You have. It's been an hour and 10 for me.
Oh, that's true. I had to buy some time.
You did.
No, I just monologued for 7 minutes.
Awesome. I bet that was a big hit.
Well, I just mentioned that I'm starting to do jujitsu to kind of get me back into the beginner mindset, so I can kind of relate to the students better. But Albert Bellamy, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
And it looks like Corey got dropped, but Kamara, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. And then everybody in the chat, thank you so much. It was cool that you and Paula have connected and you guys really know each other.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream. Bye.
See you guys.
All right.